Oh, we talking about Monopoly? America's most favorite board game and your grandparents' excuse for a good time? Well, get on my level, Grandma, cause we looking at Monopoly on NES and Super Nintendo. Two Monopoly games, you bet your ass. I hear you thinking, but boy, how different can two Monopoly games be? Well, if you'd give me a second or two, I can honestly tell you not that much. It's Monopoly. But on a TV, whoa, throw out that rule book. No more having to argue with your family over whether you can collect money on free parking or whether you have to go around the board once to start buying property. The game does it for you by sticking to the rules. These games are jam-packed with charm. Monopoly on NES and Super Nintendo only differentiate in presentation. Obviously, the NES version is going to have more simple graphics and sounds than its younger SNES cousin, but there's just something about this version that I prefer. I'm a big Monopoly fan. I know, right? And whenever I get an itching to play Monopoly, my request to play gets rejected by my friends who feel that the game takes way too long. Well, yeah, it does. So to satisfy that itch, I play the NES version. What makes these games stand out from their physical counterparts is that a lot of life was put into this game. Tokens have unique movements when traveling across the board, community chests and chance cards are animated, going to jail, auction, and trading feel like mini events as opposed to lengthy explanations of what auctions are, why they're important in speeding up the pace of a Monopoly game, and why are you arguing with me? It's right there in the rulebook. You auction off properties that you don't want to buy. Come on, Sarah, it's not that hard to get, just bid like it were eBay. I particularly like the voice samples on the NES version.
Sold! Don't be coming back now.
The presentation is about the same on the Super Nintendo, but with added animations and differences here and there, such as a little background when moving your piece across the board. But obviously you're not going to want to drop money on a piece of plastic that won't get any use. After all, you can't play Monopoly because your friends are all jerks who don't get the game. Well, don't you worry, included with the game are AI opponents that you can take on in the virtual world. You got a wide selection to choose from, but really they're all pretty much the same as far as I can tell. It's not like they have distinct personalities that contributed to different game choices. The only consistent personality is stupid, and it is rampant in this game. Monopoly is heavily based on luck, obviously, so you're not going to win every single time. However, if you ever have a property that an AI player needs to complete a Monopoly, you can almost always ask for all their money and they will give it to you for that property. It's mostly dependent on how much money that is, but more often than not, they will put themselves in a financially risky position that almost never pays off. Taking advantage of the primitive AI is pretty easy, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't satisfying. Then again, why are you playing Monopoly if you're playing against idiots, and for that matter, why are you playing Monopoly alone? I won't judge because I've got this game on NES, Game Boy, Super Nintendo, and Genesis. It can be tempting to cheat, but if you play fairly, you can get a pretty decent experience playing with the AI. You don't gotta deal with that player that just gives up and gives their property to another player leading to a landslide win, or deal with explaining the rules to players who are accustomed to house rules that make the game last longer than it should, or even just deal with getting a game started or ended. Sometimes you just want to play some mindless Monopoly for an hour, and video game versions are the easiest way to get that. Maybe I'm just biased because I've always held a soft spot for Monopoly, but I really enjoy these games. The best experience will always be playing on a physical board with friends. I don't even need to say whether I recommend this game or not. You already know if you'll like it or not. Monopoly, a delightfully rich interpretation of a classic game.